Day 72. Entitled parents surrounding the house. I don't see a future for me. I don't see any hope. But I'd like to think that I did something for them. For them to have a future. That's them! They're coming! They're coming for me! Here, take these stock images. It's up to you now. Speak calmly. Defend your property. Live well.
No, it's there! No!
Okay. All entitled parents start out as entitled people, and you can see an entitled parent in the making in this story, as a woman is confronted by her entitled cousin, who gives demands that she must give her a possession of great value. Our fan-submitted story. A girl goes to the movie theater with a friend to celebrate her birthday. They buy tickets for a kids movie, but as they take their seats, they realize the person acting most like a child there is an entitled mother who has never grown up. There is nothing wrong with being short, right? Well, not according to this entitled mother. You'll be shocked to hear her opinion about someone who is short. You'll find out all this and more, all that your heart could ever desire, by watching this episode of VoiceyHere's Entitled Parents. This story was called Entitled Cousin Tries to Convince Me to Switch Engagement Rings, and loses her mind when I refuse. So this happened 3 months ago. Me and my boyfriend at the time had decided to get married, but he still wanted to have a proper proposal. So we went out for dinner. Nothing really fancy. And then he asked, and then I said yes, obviously. And the ring he bought is kind of expensive, with a huge diamond in the middle, and smaller ones surrounding it. I don't really care though, he could have got me a plastic ring and I'd still be happy, since I'm going to spend the rest of my life with the love of my life. So as you can guess, I was giddy with happiness. A couple of days later, my cousin shares one of those "I said yes" posts on Instagram, and I call her to congratulate her, and she immediately starts bragging about the proposal. A big surprise, on a boat, live music, expensive wine, as she mentioned about 10 times in 5 minutes, etc. Then she says we should meet up with our other 2 girl cousins. We normally get together once every few months anyway, so I agree. We'll get together and celebrate both of our engagements. So the day comes and I do all the preparations as we're meeting at my place. Although I did expect her to help out, since it was a celebration for both of us. I didn't say anything. So the 4 of us are sitting in the living room, and the cousin once again starts telling us about the proposal, which all of us knew about as she told every one of us this story already. But we listen to her, thinking she is just so excited that she wants to talk about it all the time. It's fine, but she also keeps bringing up how her diamond ring is just not her style, and how she would rather something more appropriate, whatever that means. Then she asks me how my proposal was in this condescending way. I tell her it was nothing fancy, just dinner, and he pops the question. My other cousins thought it was sweet, since they knew I didn't like big surprises and over-the-top proposals. But the entitled cousin gets this weird look on her face and says, "Guess he had no money left after buying that ring." She points to it with a judging look on her face. "No wonder he didn't do anything special. If you weren't focused so much on the size of the diamonds, maybe you would get a special night like I did." I am out of words. I didn't expect this at all. And my other cousins are just looking at one another, and then me, as if saying, "What the heck just happened?" I tried to explain how I didn't like big events, so my night was special enough, and that I didn't ask for any kind of ring, and my boyfriend just picked something himself for me, and I'd be fine with any other ring he gave me. And she says, half jokingly, "Why don't we switch then, since you don't care anyways?" I decide she is joking and laugh, and say something along the lines of, "Yeah, sure, why not? It's only an engagement ring after all." I'm not sure what exactly I said, as I was still trying to figure out what the heck I had just been dragged into. She laughs and says something like, "It would look better on me anyway since your fingers are all chubby." I'm a chubby girl, so yeah, my fingers are a little thick, so I'm offended, obviously. I do feel bad about my weight already, so her bringing it up as a joke was annoying. One of the other cousins, who is 8 years older than us, realizes I'm about to explode. So she interrupts and changes the subject and asks about the wedding plans. And the ring issue is over. Or so I thought. Entitled cousin talks about how her wedding will be the dream fairy tale wedding, etc. And when they ask me, I say, we'll have a small ceremony since we want to go to a tour around Europe and want to spend minimum on the wedding in order to save more for the tour. Entitled cousin just chuckles and says, "You don't have to pretend with us, sweetheart. We are family. There's nothing wrong with not being able to afford a nice wedding. I just snap at her. I'm sure someone with enough money to buy a huge diamond also has enough money to have a big wedding. We just don't want to spend money on something as extravagant as a horse-pulled carriage. She wanted to get one of those for her wedding. And it's not like me to brag about money, but I knew this would affect her the most. After this point, it's just the two of us taking digs on each other, while the other cousins try and find a middle ground between us. This continues until the two cousins decide it's time to leave. I expected the entitled cousin to leave with them, but she stays behind to help with the cleaning up. I don't buy it. After we see them out, entitled cousin pretends to help me, while still annoying the heck out of me until I clean up everything. Then we sort of stand there awkwardly, with her looking at me, expectantly. I ask her if she wanted something, and oh boy, she says she would like to leave, so I should give her the ring. What the? Is she serious? She thought I was going to switch rings with her? My engagement ring. For real. I ask her what the heck she's talking about, and she says, "Well, you promised me your ring," with this look on her face that says, "Are you stupid or something?" I say that I was only joking, and I wouldn't give her my ring. Not because it was expensive, because it was my engagement ring. And she flips. "What do you mean you were joking? You promised. You promised in front of cousin 1 and cousin 2. Were you lying to them so they wouldn't know how selfish and superficial you are?" And I'm like, "No, I said it as a joke because no sane person would ask for someone else's engagement ring." She says she doesn't want to take mine and she would also be giving hers to me. She says it would suit her better anyways, and a big stone like that just wouldn't go with the cheap stuff I wear. I've had enough and I tell her this. Ask her to leave my apartment and not contact me again. She says she won't leave without her ring. I repeat what I said and she screams about how I led her on and how selfish I was, and how I was ruining her dream, and how my fiancé would leave my fat ugly butt anyways, that he would find someone better sooner or later and I'd be history, which hit home pretty close. I am a little insecure about my body, as I said earlier. I don't know what came over me, but I remember her saying those words, and then my hand was on her face. Normally I would never hit someone on purpose, but I was seeing red, and obviously she didn't just stand there after I slapped her, so we got into a little bit of a fight in the middle of the kitchen. Thank goodness my fiancé walked in on us soon after, and got us away from each other. Apparently he just got home and heard the screaming from the kitchen. She claimed I attacked her, which is kind of true, and I wanted to have her engagement ring as I hated the one he gave me. My fiancé and I have been dating for 5.5 years, and we've been living together for the last 3 years, so he knows me better than that. He asks me what happened, and I explained, over the shrieking voice of the entitled cousin. After listening to me, my fiancé tells my cousin that if she doesn't leave our apartment, he will be calling the police. She insists that I attacked her for a few times, but gives up eventually, and leaves, all the while swearing at us at the top of her lungs. I was just crying in the kitchen the whole time as my fiancé made sure she left. She also told her parents that I tried to take her ring, and when she refused, I attacked her. They believed her, and her mum and my mum had a huge fight over it, and they don't talk to each other anymore. My two other cousins say they think I'm in the right, but they still agreed to be her bridesmaids. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever be able to forget that day. I hate being the other person in the room while two other people are fighting. Just like the other two cousins were just sitting there throughout the whole thing. It's always so awkward and it's like, what do I do? Do you say something or does that make it worse? And you want to take sides with the person who's obviously in the right, but sometimes that can escalate it, make the other person get even more heated. So sometimes it's best just to let it play out. But what do you do in those situations? Do you take sides with someone and defend them to try and finish the argument? Or do you let it play out because you don't want it to escalate and try and let it resolve itself quickly? Let me know in the comments below. This fan-submitted story was called "She Persistently Tried to Bully My Friend and I into Leaving the Cinema for Watching a Babies Movie." My friend and I both read Captain Underpants books when we were younger, so for my birthday, we went to the cinema to see Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. The cinema we picked wasn't very popular, but it was the only one still showing Captain Underpants. The only other customers were a mother and her kid in the line in front of us, who also bought tickets for that movie and went in ahead of us. I didn't think much of it at the time, so we bought our tickets and decided to treat ourselves to a large popcorn. so we went into the theater and sat down. The future entitled mother speaks. "Excuse me, but you're in the wrong theater." My friend and I are both pretty forgetful, so we have a quick heart attack and whip out our tickets to check them. "No, this is screen 6, the one showing Captain Underpants. We're in the right theater, thank you." The entitled mum has a look in her eye that tells me everything is about to go pear-shaped. "No, you're in the wrong theater. You girls have no business watching a movie that's meant for babies." Movies can be watched by everyone. And besides, I hardly think this movie is just for babies. I think it was made for the people who read the Captain Underpants books when they were kids. "Are you both brain dead? How could this movie possibly be for anyone other than children? It's called Captain Underpants, for goodness sake. You both need to grow up and watch a movie suitable for your age." "No, we can watch this if we want to." The entitled mum starts to spout BS again, while my friend and I give each other looks and sit down and ignore her. 5 minutes before the movie is due to begin, we both went to the bathroom and left our belongings, handbags, hoodies, popcorn, on our seats in case anyone else came along. Big mistake. When we get back, our belongings are strewn all along the floor and down the stairs. Our 2 large popcorns are spilled into the aisles and there's popcorn everywhere. And the entitled mum and her kid are sitting in our seats. She has a smug look on her face, expecting us to get really upset. Another thing about me and my friend, we both get bullied at school for being the loners, so we're both used to having our stuff spilt everywhere. And besides, we both had backup sweets in our bags. We just shrugged at each other, picked up our stuff, and sat down in another seat. I said to my friend, "We probably should clean up that popcorn after the lady leaves, so she doesn't try to stop us." Another big mistake. The entitled mum is ticked off that she didn't get a reaction out of us, so she scoops up her kid and sits directly behind us. The movie begins and she, throughout the entire movie, does a list of lovely things to us. 1. She encourages her kid to throw popcorn at us. 2. Says things like, "Look at those babies," and "so immature," and "I bet they still wear nappies." And 3. She makes fun at us for laughing at the jokes and showing any signs of enjoyment. We're both doing a very good job at ignoring her. She was annoying, yes, but not infuriating. She was very easy to ignore. At least I thought so. My friend was getting increasingly ticked off, but was too polite to chew this lady out. But she managed to keep her cool. I could hear the entitled mum behind me swearing at us, frustrated that her attempts to get us to leave were failing. I hear her get up from her seat, and I kid you not, she dumped her entire drink onto my friend's head. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. My friend leapt up from her seat and left. The entitled mum is cackling behind me, and I stared at her speechless. "Don't look at me like that, it's your own fault." She keeps laughing, but her smile keels over and dies when she sees my friend return, with a security guard. Apparently she went straight to the desk and reported her for harassment. The theatre employee saw her soaked hair and called security. "Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." "Why? You should be removing them. They're not supposed to be here. They didn't pay for their tickets." A lie to save her own butt. That's not an excuse for harassing these kids. Security guard drags the entitled mother out and her kid follows behind. She's screeching at us and giving us the death glare. The words she said to me were still fresh in my mind, so I gleefully echoed them. "Don't look at me like that, it's your own fault." We sat down and watched the rest of the movie in peace. My friend got cleaned up in the bathroom. We cleaned up the popcorn as promised, and we went for a nice walk in the town afterwards and had birthday cake. We still joke about this woman in school. This story was called Almost Jailed for Reading a Book in the Park. While the city I live in is a little, rammed to the gills with peasants, students, chavs, and other NPCs, there are some really nice little parks in the city. Nottingham for anyone who cares. On this particular bright and sunny spring day, late May, I decided to go and sit under a tree, read my book, and enjoy some sunshine. A sadly lacking commodity in the UK. In the cast, we have the entitled mother, a baffled policeman, and me.
What the heck are you doing?
Wait, what?
You can't be here.
The entitled mums in this city lack a certain class. In the park,
This is a children's play area. You have to leave.
huh? I look over and sure enough, there was a children's play area about 20 feet away, railed off and full of the usual kit, with a couple of knob goblins charging around yelling at each other. I go back to reading my book. The entitled mum starts screeching, but, unusually for the breed, doesn't attempt to steal my Kindle. Thinking back, it may be because I'm a shaven-headed adult with a forked beard and upper body muscles that can be seen through my clothes. Physio got me bulked. The entitled mother wanders off. I figure all is done, and I try to get back to my book. Sure enough, this psycho comes back with an actual freaking police officer. "Excuse me, sir, I need to speak with you about some very suspicious accusations this lady has made." Huh? It was a really good book and I was distracted. "This lady says that you were talking to her children and taking photos of them and asking them to go with you." Wait, freaking what? Allow me to elucidate. I work in film and TV. An accusation like this, even just a charge sheet, could end my career and everything I've spent years working for. I am ice cold with panic. My heart is, despite the odds, somehow not beating, and beating like that of a hummingbird on crack. Then my brain kicks in, and I start laughing. The entitled mum screeches gibberish. "Sir, this isn't a laughing matter, it's very serious." Exactly how was I taking these pictures?
He was following them around with his phone.
And this is why I was laughing. My phone was in for repairs. The only phone I had with me was a 15-pound Pebble flip phone that literally didn't have a camera. It called, texted, and that was it. "Here you go, officer." I handed over the phone. "Feel free to check out my phone. That has no camera."
Wait, I mean his tablet. He was using the tablet thingy.
Now I'm laughing harder, because this was a few months after the first gen Kindle Fire had dropped. For those of you who don't know, also no camera. "Please, officer, feel free to check this also." Note the lack of camera. "So you don't have a camera?" "Nope, I was just sitting here reading a book when this nutter started screeching at me about her kids. Which she left by themselves for the last 40 minutes, just for your information." So, the cop drags screeching entitled mum away. I tried to go back to my book, but the day was ruined. I wish there was a better conclusion for y'all, but she wasn't ever punished as far as I know. Caution for wasting police time, but that's nothing. And I no longer go to that park because I don't feel comfortable there. The entitled parent will never master the art of leaving people alone. It's a basic desire that most of us have. I want to be free to do whatever it is I want to do, as long as I'm not harming you, and you should be free to do whatever it is you want to do, as long as you're not harming anyone else. The dude was just sitting there, reading a book, minding his own business. And if you think about it, she brought a police officer who is armed to try and get the guy to move. No, she wasn't literally carrying herself, but really, is there much difference if she was actually holding a weapon? The end result would have been the same. Using violence against a peaceful person to do what you want them to do. That's the basic MO of the entitled parent. This story was called, "Ma'am, being short isn't a disability." Some background. This took place about a year ago during a sparring tournament. If you are unfamiliar with sparring, it's like boxing, but you tap and first good hit gets you a point. It goes to 3 points and then you win. I had been training for years as I compete in the tournament every year. When I arrived, I walked over to the 9 to 12-year-old sparring area. I'm 12 at the time, and check what time I have to fight. It turns out that I'm on first again with a kid about my size. I win 3-1 and give the kid a high five and wait for the next match. I watch nice kid spar and notice that he is kind of short, 4'5" compared to my 5'3". He is about 9 or 10 years old. He wins with a close 3-2. When the time comes for my next fight, I am against the nice kid. We spar, but my height gives me a big advantage. So I let him have a point, and then I proceed to win the next 3 points. The round is over and he asks if I want to go back to the snack table with him, and I gladly accept. We go over and talk Undertale. We are both fans. When we get back is when things really start to go crazy. We are walking back telling jokes, and that's when I see the entitled mum, the nice kid's mum, screaming at the referee.
My son is disabled and you let that other boy win. Are you afraid of disabled people or something?
Your son is not disabled. It was not on the form you needed to complete. His doctor would have said so on the form. The conversation is clearly going nowhere, and so I walk towards her. And this is what then happened. Entitled mum spins aggressively towards me.
You, winning wasn't enough, huh? You had to humiliate him too.
I have no idea what's going on. Ma'am, I have no idea what you're talking about.
What do you mean? You know he's disabled.
I am not having this crap. Oh really? I turned to the nice kid. Are you really disabled?
No, my mum thinks that because of my height. She's been giving me this crap for years. I just learned to live with it. He's totally disabled, look at him.
Being short is not a disability. She was clearly lying to salvage her pride.
Shut up, you little frickin' loser. My husband is a doctor, and he says nice kid is disabled.
Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Your son may stay if he wishes. The entitled mom stormed out of the building, and nice kid said he wanted to stay. We finished the tournament. I got 3rd out of 20, and we decided to get ice cream down the street. It turned out that entitled mom had a divorce 5 years ago, and they haven't spoken since. Me and nice kid exchanged numbers and went our separate ways. I think I like finishing episodes where the kid is actually really chill compared to the parent. It keeps giving me hope. I just did a quick search and it seems like the kid was pretty average height for his age. Unless you count all PewDiePie fans as 9 years old, then that might skew the results a little bit. Even if he was disabled, like maybe he had stunted growth or something like that, the reality is it's a competition, and if you're going to be competing at that ability level, you can't expect special treatment. Guaranteed in a few years when her son is taller and goes up against a shorter kid, she's gonna be the first one yelling and chanting for her son to dominate the other kid. No mercy will be spared then. You know what, I'd guarantee that even if he was up against an actually disabled person, she'd probably do the same. If you'd like your story to be narrated by me, don't forget to visit the subreddit r/VoiceyHere, link below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.
What do you mean? You know he's disabled.